Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us near and far to join us tonight for our Boston Buzz pre-residency tips and tricks event. We wanted to bring this event back because we are all just as excited as last year for our Boston residency coming up in just a couple of weeks. And just by a show of hands of people who are present here on the Zoom tonight, how many of you are coming back as returning? Residency attendees, or in other words, this will be maybe your second or third time. All right, awesome. And then how many of you this will be your first time at residency? Nice. All right. So we got a good split. And so, may or may not call upon some of you who have been at residency in the past to maybe share a little bit of insight from that experience, if you don't mind a discussion-based format in a little bit. And certainly any of us on the GSERA e-board who will be on this event tonight, we will, of course, be happy to share our insights from our experiences at residency as well. We also are joined by our faculty advisor, Andy, Professor Anderson, who will be on the call here and there throughout the evening. So I'm sure he'll be glad to, share any experiences that he has or any wisdom to impart on how to maximize on this residency experience coming up in just a few short weeks. So without further ado, we'll get started. And a couple of familiar faces here for those of you who have been with us before for our events. My name is Taylor Cello. I am the president of GSERA, and I'm in the graduating class of 2027 for the EDD program next spring. So it's flying by. So really excited to be defending in just about a year from now, which is exciting. So I will be joined soon by our Vice President, Jennifer Miller. She will be co-hosting with me this evening for this event. And we also are so excited to have Alyssa Thomas on the call here, who is going to be kind of like tech chat support, resource sharing support in our chat. So by all means, if you have, any questions throughout that you want addressed at this time, you're more than welcome to throw them right in there as we move forward. And so Alyssa is joining us virtually here. We also have, in perfect timing, we have Randell, who's our treasurer, who just hopped on the call. So he's going to be with us too to maybe impart some wisdom from his previous residency experiences. I know he's going to be involved in a couple of the events going on at residency. So another familiar face that you'll be able to recognize when you're there in Boston. And then lastly, I don't believe he's able to make it here tonight, but obviously we could not be without our program director, Dr. Chris Bowe, new Dr. Chris Bowe. He just successfully defended, so we're very proud and excited for him. And he is going to be getting hooded this summer, so we're really excited to be celebrating that with him. And he has definitely been to plenty of residencies, and he will also be there in Boston. In fact, he's staying with me because he's from the West Coast, so he'll be staying with me throughout that week of Boston residency. So we're really excited to be, continuing the journey together. And then Chung, he is our communications director. So any social media that you've seen throughout this past year, he has been responsible for. So really, really lucky to have had him on our team. All right. So, just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about tonight. First, for those of us who might not have been to residency before, what is it, right? Just unpacking that. That way we can demystify anything. And that way you can go into residency feeling empowered about what it truly is. Then we'll talk through tips and tricks. And again, this can definitely be discussion based for those of you who may have attended residency in the past, maybe sharing some I wish I would have knowns for those people who this might be their first go around of residency. And of course, Jen and I will share our tips and tricks from our experiences as well. And then lastly, we'll close out the evening by talking about some of the GSERA-based residency happenings, since you'll see all of us familiar faces throughout your time at residency. We'll be hosting different events both during the duration of residency and even before and after the programming. So feel free to engage with us as little or as much as you want to. The more you get involved, the more you get out of your residency experience. All right. So we do have some familiar faces in some of these photos. I'm sure some of you recognize them. And these are just some, highlights from previous residencies that we have had across the global network, but especially in Boston. So to get us started of what residency really is, as you may have heard through your advisors that you have in the program, we are required to have about two of these experiences completed during our time in the EDD program. And it doesn't have to be on the Boston campus, it could be at one of the other satellite campuses that have been identified by your advisor. And so, again, a two minimum to complete that residency requirement for the degree. And for any of you who have been to an academic conference before, it is very, very similar in that format. So there's concurrent sessions you can choose from. There are some standalone sessions that you can choose to go to. And while at conferences, it's usually catered to a specific topic or maybe to your particular work context. Residency is a little different in the fact that we're sharpening skills as scholar practitioners. So, what makes a good action researcher? You might get some insights and some networking, experiences throughout it where you can connect with other students as well as faculty. So, between the skill strengthening piece that comes into residency, along with the opportunities that you do have to network, both within the concentration communities that we're a part of and even beyond it, there's so much learning that's had at residency. And if you have any questions about the residency experience, you can certainly ask any of us on the executive board here at GSERA, your advisors, the fellow classmates that you've connected with who may have been there, done that. And we're going to, of course, unpack more of that this evening. And something else that's really awesome about residency, and I think all of us who have been there can attest to this, is that as we know, it's really awesome that our program is in the remote asynchronous modality, right? We can balance work and life while pursuing this degree that we've always wanted. But residency really is kind of that glue where it doesn't feel as isolating anymore. And you actually see these people beyond maybe the Zoom walls, right? Or beyond the Canvas discussion boards. And, you kind of put names to faces. And so that's the other really humanizing element of residency, I feel like. And not only with, again, your fellow students, but also with faculty members that maybe you've grown some partnership with just through email exchanges. And now you can really see them in real life and appreciate all of the wisdom that they've imparted to you. So, all in all, with it being a very much an in-person experience at residency, it's just awesome to be a part of this opportunity. Um, any other, takeaways of what residency means to you for anyone on the call right now who has been there before at residency, or one of the things that you've really valued from that experience that you want to speak to?
I can go. Sorry, you guys can't see me. My name's Alyssa. I'm the GSERA secretary. You probably saw my picture. I apologize that you can't see me right now. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about residency is that for a little bit, I kind of felt like I was a student again, which is not to say that I'm not a student, obviously, in the program, but being able to literally sit in a room full of like-minded individuals and take in the same information and have really valuable discussions and ask questions to other people who are also kind of grappling with the same topics. It was really nice. And it was something that I really, really missed about academia, especially pre-COVID. So not only was I, a student before COVID, but I also am an educator. So I taught before, during, and after COVID too. So it was just nice to be in that space and interact with others that way.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that, Alyssa. Yeah, it's definitely great to, you know, stretch beyond the Canvas modules and all of those things to connect with people that you might not have otherwise in other areas of your life, right? And I've always appreciated the fact that we're able to gain these like global perspectives from people across, the Northeastern network or across time zones, through the modality of our program. But there's something really special about being able to sit down during like the lunch break or during the breakfast and really like continuing those conversations and connecting more with real life experience from our workplaces and our different contexts and the research that we're all doing. And you really come away from this like loaded with wisdom, information, diversifying your perspective on your own research and your path in the EDD program. Any other insights from people who have been to residency before and what it means to them?
Yeah, I can jump in.
Thanks,
Hey
Randall.
everyone, I'm Randall Irving. I'm the treasurer of GSERA, and I am just entering dissertation in the program. And so I attended residency last summer, and I feel like Alyssa just almost like took everything out of my the words out of my mouth. It was such a joyous experience and also just, meaningful connections. I really enjoyed the modality that we are in. Of course, asynchronous, it works for my work life, works for just kind of like balancing things and kind of being able to do things flexibly. However, I'm an in-person kind of guy. Like that's it's really it's a different modality for me. I've never attended school asynchronous before, and so residency, to Alyssa's point, made me feel like a real student. Like I think being on campus was really nice. I live in California, so I'm pretty far from Northeastern, and so it was nice to see campus. I encourage folks to walk around campus. Northeastern is beautiful. Boston is beautiful if you haven't been. So I did get a chance to walk through some neighborhoods. If you get a chance to engage in the pre-residency events, you'll get a chance to explore possibly. I mean, we have one as well, but if you choose one of the other ones, you can explore Boston just a little bit. So I encourage you to really take it in. If you haven't been to Northeastern, if you haven't been to Boston, I think that one of the things that was really valuable for me was developing connections with other students and faculty, in addition to learning about the program. And so I felt like I walked away with a much better understanding of the path forward, my journey, supports, resources, and that was really helpful. And then connections with folks. I was able to, I have many folks. I have many folks that I connected with. We have, group chats and texts and just email chains and things like that, just to stay connected and support each other. And so I really encourage folks to also, if you're not someone who really is comfortable networking, this is a really great place to practice. We're all there to network and do this together. So, folks want to connect. And so I encourage you to get to know folks as well, because that's going to likely make your time in the program easier because we can then support each other throughout the year, and after having those connections. I am doing a session. It is what I wish I knew before I started the program. And so it's kind of like this, but it's about residency, or I'm sorry, about our ADD program. And so I encourage you to attend that session if you are maybe newer to the program, or even if you're more experienced. It's a panel, so I'll be on the panel with several other students and facilitated by an alumni, and supported by Dr. Crocker. If you don't know her, she's amazing. And so I encourage folks to just attend the sessions, engage, and yeah, have a great time.
Love it. Thanks so much, Randall. Yeah, Randall brings up a great point too about another aspect of residency, which is there are some sessions that really help you to see the road ahead. So it's sharpening skills, it's building community, but also seeing the road ahead in terms of what's to come with IRB, what's to come with some of the foundational research courses you might be looking ahead to. So the more proactive answers you can get to some questions lingering in your mind, the better off you'll set yourself up for success. And thank you for your plug about your panel, Randall. That'll be a really awesome one. And then again, another great way to see a clearer road ahead for sure by listening to these lived experiences of these students who have paved the way. Andy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I couldn't agree more with Rendell and listen in your comments, and I would love to just talk specifically about the faculty component to this. Your professors really enjoy meeting you in person. I know many of them have office hours, and you probably talk on the phone a bunch, or you might see each other on Zoom, like a 2 inch by 2 inch square. But definitely take the time, go up and introduce yourself to your professors you've had in the past, professors you might have. I know they really enjoy that, and it's also a good opportunity for the whole networking session as well. And I know depending where you are, you might have recently been assigned a mentor. Great to go up and introduce yourself to your mentor in person. Some of you have advisors. Great just to kind of connect with them in person. I know that's a really as a professor in their program, I really look forward to meeting the students. So take advantage of that as well.
Love that. Definitely some great advice. Thank you so much, Andy. Any others that want to chime in about their residency experience? All right, fantastic. And definitely more to come as we talk about some tips and tricks on how to maximize this experience. All right. So, the biggest question on all of our minds, right, is how can we prepare ourselves so we can make the most out of this residency experience? Because we are indeed buzzing for Boston. And so, first things first is to go in with a certain mindset and an attitude. So, one thing that I know is on a lot of our minds is fall 2026. There's going to be the semesterization of our program. And maybe a lot of us have maybe some excitement about that, maybe some anxieties about that, right? And some of us may have had the chance to connect with our advisors. Maybe it's virtually, maybe it was through email threads. But just as a reminder, the advisors are going to be there in person. And kind of like what Randall was saying about being having that authentic in-person interaction with advisors, with faculty, like Andy said as well. This is a great opportunity for you to demystify anything that or questions that you might have about semesterization, talking about your future course plans now that the semesterization is happening. So, just so you know, advising will be there as a resource throughout the residency experience. That way, if you want to connect with your advisor one-on-one or even just to introduce yourself, it's a great way to build that bond and to get the answers that you need around that. The other key thing to note is that, while 2 days of residency doesn't feel like a lot of time, it is a lot of information and networking and engagement that goes into it. So I could not stress enough how important it is to get a good night's sleep, before you come to Boston, before your travels, if you're coming from a farther away place, or even in that day one to day two transition, definitely take the time you need to decompress. That way, each day that you're engaging, you're able to fully engage with a positive mindset and an attitude to be ready to connect with others. So that's my wisdom there for that. The other thing too that I know Andy just touched upon is connecting with past, current, and future professors that you'll have the opportunity to engage with in your Canvas modules and beyond it. And also, one key thing that I would also recommend, especially for those of you who are like, wow, like this is gonna be my first time seeing my professors like in real life, definitely recommend checking out our YouTube video that we have on our GSERA YouTube channel that goes over networking and best practices when it comes to networking with faculty. We have some great insights from that faculty themselves in that video, from students who have been there, done that. So I highly recommend maybe checking out that video sometime between now and the start of residency. That way you have those best practices in your tool belt as well. So yeah, mindset and attitude is super important to keep in mind. And something that Wendy Crocker always says that I've always loved, I know Jen can definitely test this, is that no one of us is smarter than the other. Jen, you probably know the wording better than I do. It's like the iron sharpens iron mindset.
No one of us is as smart as all of us.
Love it. So that is probably like the best way to encapsulate the mindset and attitude to enter residency is that the more people you talk to, the more questions you ask, the more answers you'll get. So I think that's the best way to encapsulate the mindset and attitude that everyone should kind of go into residency with. Truly, it's nothing to be nervous about. Everyone is grappling with, the ins and outs of this program and the nuances of semesterization, the new courses to come with that. So just know that we're all in this together, and it's truly a great community bonding experience. For session considerations, one thing I will plug is that on day zero, as we call it, or else maybe I'm the only one calling it that, but day zero, which is that pre-residency Thursday, that Thursday right before programming begins, you may have seen that there are many different events going on. And usually it's like the after work hours. There's like a MFA museum tour. I know there's a walking tour of the local Boston community. One of the GSERA offerings of the pre-residency events there is one I'm going to be spearheading, which is a meet and greet event. And so that's one way that you can not only make connections before walking into residency, but also we're going to give an opportunity for everyone to get like pen and paper of all the sessions printed out, and you can highlight, annotate which ones you want to go to. That way you truly walk into residency knowing how you want to maximize on that time. So, if you're not able to make the pre-residency event, rest assured, I'm still going to impart some wisdom for you now. In thinking about the sessions that you have a choice of going to, some questions to ask yourself. What skills do you feel confident in right now as a scholar practitioner. So maybe you're thinking back to the courses you've already taken. What do you feel confident with? Because if that's something that you feel good with, then you know that, all right, that that session about that skill, I don't have to prioritize right now. Or maybe you have a friend that's going to it and say, hey, can you share some notes? So if you have a friend that might be interested in one session and you might go going to another, jigsaw that knowledge and maybe find a chance to connect during lunch to kind of share that knowledge with each other so you can kind of kill two birds with one stone and kind of have that win-win situation. And then the other question to ask yourself is, what skills do you want to sharpen as a scholar practitioner? What are some that you're unsure of? Or what are some types of courses that are upcoming in your future course plans that you want to demystify right now? That way you can go into that course more confidently. So that's another question to kind of ask yourself and reflect upon as you're looking through the session offerings for residency. And lastly, choose sessions based on those future course plans, like I mentioned. So, especially thinking about like, are you in the pre-IRB phase or are you in the post-IRB phase? Or are you kind of in that in between where you're going through it? You're going through IRB right now. So, really be strategic in terms of what sessions that you choose. To, again, strategize with your friends. Hey, are you going to this session? I'll go to this one, and we can kind of, share that wisdom, in between the sessions or maybe at a lunch or dinner break. So definitely use that to your advantage. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Jen, our VP, who's going to talk to us a little bit about more of the logistical things like materials to bring, some attire tips, because I know some of us might be like, what the heck do I wear to this thing? And more strategies on how to find those people that you can, make lasting relationships with.
Absolutely. Thank you, Taylor. Just to also add in, considering since we're on the topic of pre and post IRB, if you are a mentee, typically we recommend that if you are post IRB, then hopefully you'll consider becoming a mentor and giving back to, those new students that might need a little bit more support or, just becoming a mentor, progressing on. And in terms of talking about that, feel empowered to come talk to us at the table if you want to transition from mentee to mentor, or if you are having any concerns or wanting to talk about the mentorship program in general. This is also a great time to do that. But those of you that are mentees, typically post IRB, we hope that you'll make the transition to mentor because we do have some people waiting. Now, sorry, a little tired. Flash forwarding to materials. So you are in Boston, all right? So sensible shoes, okay? You don't have to go with the high heels or the tight shoes. It's going to be hot. It may rain depending on New England weather. So please think about when it comes to sensible shoes. Water, of course, there will be a little coffee shop nearby. However, if you want to have consistent drink, because remember, certain places will be open by the time you get there, certain places will be closed by the time you get there. It's always good to have a water bottle on hand. Laptop, again, bring your laptop because you will be given a lot of digital tools that you will need access to that will not be fully accessible on your phone. Please consider that, including chargers, business cards if you have them, if you have one of those digital cards. If you haven't thought of investing into a business card, maybe now is the time to do so, or having at least a LinkedIn setup. This is a time, as Taylor said, to network, and it's really essential that you start thinking about residency, especially as a day to meet other practitioners in your field or those that maybe might be a really good connection when you're searching for that postdoctorate job. You never know. Pens. Now, when it comes to Northeastern's buildings, they get a little cold. So bring a sweater, light sweater, especially if you're sensitive to temperatures. Please make sure that you have that on you. And snacks. And don't forget that lovely Husky card because you can get all those discounts. And we have a video on the YouTube regarding that. So please make sure you check that out before you jump to residency. Now, attire expectations, business casual, comfortable, but professional. So don't feel like you have to show up in a suit, but don't feel like, or rather, don't show up in shorts and a t-shirt unless you graduated. That's all I'll say about that. So business casual. When it comes to change of shoes, if needed, umbrella, rain jacket, just in case, again, for that New England weather. Can't underline this enough. Residency is about finding your people. It's about meeting your mentors in person. It's about meeting prospective mentees and mentors. It's about meeting your professors. It's about introducing yourself physically to other professionals on campus, meeting those new professors, meeting those old professors, but also just making connections and especially ensuring that you have followed up connections as well. And that could be done through LinkedIn. That's why we keep reiterating how important that is. Because again, it's not just about the initial handshake, it's also about the follow up. Okay. Now, when it comes to the when you first walk in the door, it may be a little bit nerve-wracking because you might not know somebody to sit with. Please feel empowered to come sit with us at GSERA. But again, always try to find your people, introduce yourselves, make friends, because again, that's what this whole program is about, networking, but also making long-lasting friendships and professional connections. Now, when it comes to the breakfast, sometimes people come in with their own breakfast. Remember, we will be providing breakfast, but also pay attention to the times where some people might be trickling in, some people might not be there yet, or maybe you might be walking into a crowd. So take a deep breath, introduce yourself to somebody new, and you'll have a great time. Yeah, did I miss anything, Taylor? Just want to make sure because I'm going pretty fast because I'm excited for residency.
No, yeah, you definitely covered it all. For those people who are on the call at this time who, have been to residency in the past and thinking about some of the things that we shared, relative to mindset, relative to session schedule considerations, materials attire, finding your people. Are there any what like wish you would have knowns that you're taking with you into this next residency that you want to share with the people on the call? Even if it was something that Jen and I brought up that you wanted to highlight as something that really stick with you.
I
Ashvi?
have something I could share. I'm not sure if it's one of those wish I would have known, but I found it super helpful. If you haven't already, highly recommend on Canvas setting your profile picture to yourself because it was really helpful to see those faces on Canvas in person and like match them up. And then when you walk in on the first day, you know who you can go to because you've been chatting with them on a discussion board for weeks.
I love that idea. Such a good point. So maybe that's everyone's homework tonight. Going into Canvas, checking out the settings, setting that profile pic. That way, yeah, that's actually a really great pro tip there, Mashfiq. So yeah, definitely updating your photo there. I also know I think in everyone's Microsoft account, which you do have free access to as a Northeastern student, that's another great way, especially since a lot of the communications that we typically do in the year is through email. So I know you can also set a Microsoft account picture as well. So yeah, just a little just a small but mighty networking tip right there, just to put faces to names. Love that.
Ooh,
Any
also,
others?
sorry, Tay.
Go ahead.
Just a quick little, I guess, self-care thing. I know Jen was really great about making sure you know where your common corners are, but I'm a born and raised New Yorker, so I know what life is like in the Northeast. But if you haven't been to the Northeast before, I would definitely recommend checking on the weather. And if you are someone who takes like medication, those 2 days go so quickly. Sometimes it's easy to forget to take care of yourself. So make sure you bring that with you. If you're someone who is on medication that makes you more susceptible to like heat stroke, definitely make sure you stay hydrated, bring water. And I cannot stress enough the importance of the sweater if you are sensitive to the cold as well. Um, I know in New York we always joke about the weather being bipolar, but like I think it's just the Northeast. So if you are one of those people who wants to rep like the little electric fan, do that too. Live your truth.
Honestly, so true. And I know last year, speaking of like self-care, because again, we are absorbing a lot of information throughout each session and doing a lot of networking, is that I know last year they had through the Center for Spirituality, Dialogue, and Service, they had some mindful moments and some like actual like calm break times built into the schedule, whether it was like towards the end of lunch, maybe before lunch, or in between sessions. If you happen to see that on the schedule, I did it last year. take advantage of it. It's like this 10-minute, 15-minute mindful moment. And there was some deep breathing exercises. It was just a quiet time to just kind of quiet all of the stimuli that came with residency. I also know that if the weather's optimal, and you can always come find me if you need, help locating it on campus, the koi pond, which is right outside of the Starbucks, and of course I would know where that is because I love my Starbucks. It's a beautiful, calm space, really beautiful outside to listen to the water bubbling. The koi you can check out. It's a beautiful space with a lot of really great scenery around there. So if you need to grab a coffee, sit in an Adirondack chair by the koi pond, could not recommend it more. And lastly, and this is a resource again that we have access to as Northeastern students, and we actually just had a mindfulness and self-care video on YouTube, led by a EDD student incoming, who is the director for the Center for Spirituality, Dialogue, and Service at Northeastern, is they have different spaces. So whether you are religious or you're not religious and you simply need a quiet space to decompress and meditate and just be away from all the noise, they do have different spaces on campus for that, at the Center for Spirituality, Dialogue, and Service. They even have different spaces throughout campus outside of their immediate space. So if you just do a quick Google search, Northeastern Center for Spirituality, Dialogue, and Service, and you go to their spaces webpage on that website, it'll give you all of those spaces that you freely will have access to. So feel free to take advantage of those to, again, self-care, decompress, and do those things. Oh, yes. Thank you, Ashley, so much for sharing the dining on campus hours of operation. Yes, we all need our caffeine too. I know there's also a Tate, which is a cafe that has delicious, sweet treats and caffeine if you need it. And it's right on Huntington Avenue, only about like a 5 to 10 minute walk from where we'll be at residency.
And don't forget, guys, the bookstore will only be open one day of residency during the week, I believe. I don't think it's going to be open on the weekend. So make sure that if you want to buy your swag, buy your Northeastern gear, you're going to do it right, on the first day of residency. If you need help finding the bookstore, let us know. Somebody will probably be on their way to go buy some swag anyway. Can't highlight enough the weather changes. It can be 100, like it could be 93 where it feels like 100 degrees. Please bring your water, but then also remember they crank up the AC, so bring that sweater. When it also comes to my neurodivergent and sensory sensitive folk, know where your, as Alyssa mentioned, know where your calming corners are. If you need to, reset, recalibrate, take medication, take a moment to yourself, find those calming spots. So then that way you can give not only your best to others and your presentation to others, but you're also really pouring into yourself so you can give the best to yourself as well. So please make sure if you need support and you need an ally, reach out. But know where your corners are, know where your bathrooms are in case you need to take a moment to breathe.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. And this is actually going to be a perfect segue, Jen, into when you were talking about swag, I couldn't help but think about our next slide, which is all about using that student benefit again to your advantage at residency to get some Northeastern swag. Want to tell us a little bit about this, Jen?
Absolutely. Make sure you guys have this saved. Take a picture right now using your phone. Make sure you have it accessible because you will need that code in order to get the discount. Okay. And you're going to need to present this coupon. Make sure also, ideally, just in case they ask for a Husky card, just in case, it's good to have. And it's also just great to have it the first day of residency if you can grab it. Make sure you take a picture of this. They will ask for this. Go to the bookstore, get your stuff, 20% off on one apparel or gift item. There's sweaters, there's even some baby clothes if you wanted to get, that little one some Northeastern swag. Please make sure you have this, save it now. All right. And Tay, did I miss anything? Want to make sure I didn't.
Oh, that's yeah, nice, perfect little plug there. In case you, for whatever reason, you're grappling with your phone, you're at the bookstore, you can't find it. I also know that this is linked on the homepage of the residency website, which you all should have gotten via email, just so you all know. It's towards the bottom of the homepage of the residency website. Amazing. So before we get to our Q&A, just a little overview of the events that will be happening at residency. If you have a phone or if you want to screenshot this, now is a great time to do so since we've confirmed the locations of these events. So That day zero, which is again that Thursday right before residency programming officially begins, there are plenty of options for events you can go to. One of the ones that GSERA is going to be hosting, and I will be your hostess for this one in particular, it's going to be Thursday, July 23rd, from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. in Richards Hall, room 228. And just as a little caveat here, as I go through each of these events and their locations, if you have a Apple Maps or Google Maps on your phone, all of these locations and buildings should be navigational, like right through those apps, just so you know, so you can kind of traverse around campus with some familiarity. So Richards Hall 228, that's where I will be hosting our pre-residency meet and greet. So this is a great event for first comers for residency, but also for seasoned members who want to maybe, impart some wisdom, meet some new friendly faces, welcome those who might be brand new to our program. And you're going to walk away from this session with not only a clear vision for the sessions that you want to take advantage of, but also hopefully at least one person that you can connect with, exchange numbers with, or emails or LinkedIn's with, and walk into residency with together, starting on that Friday. So feel free to join us. And again, that's going to be Richards Hall, room 228. So then for day one, which is Friday, July 24th, from 11:10 a.m. to 12 p.m., GSERA e-board members like me, Jen, and Chris, who's our program director, we will be hosting our own session titled From Isolation to Collaboration, GSERA's mentorship, workshops, and community for doctoral scholars. So during this concurrent session, any students that attend will be able to just learn more about GSERA for maybe some newer students who might not know what GSERA is. This is a great opportunity to, dive into that. And again, to maybe even just for those who are members, to meet some members in person that you might not have otherwise been able to with our remote async modality. So that's going to be happening on Friday. And then day two, we've got some treats for you. So if you want to get up a little early, if this doesn't entice you already, we're going to be giving you breakfast on us. And it's going to be right there in the ISEC atrium. So it's the first floor of ISEC, which is basically like residency headquarters, if you will. That's where you're going to be checking into residency, right there in that building. And it's a beautiful space. Brand new within the past, I think like 5 or 10 years in the Northeastern campus. It has this iconic spiral staircase. You'll be able to find it. And in that atrium space, we're going to be hosting breakfast. So breakfast is on us. You can come, whether you're a brand new GSERA member or you want to become a GSERA member, tell your friends, maybe tell some of those people you met at the pre-residency meet and greet to join you for breakfast, the following day to start your day off right. And not only will each of us on the executive board be speaking to, what it's meant to us to be a member of GSERA and how you can really maximize on that membership, but also how you in the next academic year can get involved with us on our executive board. So, as all of you may or may not know, we host elections just like most student organizations do at Northeastern. That way, you can be one of us and be a part of being that student voice for those in the EDD program and creating programming that's for students made by students. So, if that's something that intrigues you, I definitely and highly recommend to come to our breakfast. Just not just for the free food, but also to learn more about GSERA and how you can get even more involved than you already are right now. We're really hopeful to have some open positions within the next academic year. So feel free to come and learn more of how you can get more involved in leadership or even just to share your ideas for what you want to see from GSERA in the next year as a member yourself. So that's for day two. And then also to kind of finish out day two and to celebrate the end of residency and to maybe not say your goodbyes just yet right after the closing, we're going to be hosting a happy hour social where again light refreshments and appetizers will be on us. And we're excited to have it at the Yard House, which is in Copley Place on Huntington Avenue, which is the main road that most of the Northeastern campus in Boston is founded upon there. So Jennifer Miller, our VP, is going to be wearing something super sparkly and beautiful, and she's going to be our line leader, essentially, our glorified line leader, if you will, leading the charge over right after residency programming ends around 4 o'clock. And Randall will be on the receiving end over at Yard House to welcome all of you. So we'll have a nice little toast over there. We'll enjoy some appetizers and be able to continue the networking in a more informal space. So if you don't have to catch a flight or anything like that, or you're sticking around in Boston for the weekend, certainly join us for this nice closing end to our residency experience. Um, Jen, anything that I missed that you want to add about any of these events?
I mean, in Boston, there's a story called Make Way for Ducklings. And so you'll be my little ducklings following me down to the yard house. So make sure that I will pause at the end and make sure that attention, you guys see where I am. There will be time for you to run to the bathroom because it will be a little bit of a walk. That's why make sure it's sensible shoes, make sure you're comfortable, make sure you hydrate before you go so then you can enjoy some good eats when we get there.
Awesome. And yeah, rest assured too, it goes until 6 o'clock. So if you just need a minute, before you go right over, you're more than welcome to. I'll be happy to hang back for anyone who wants to go with like the second wave of people on over to the Yard House as well. Um, so yeah, definitely feel free to join us for that closing event.
Make sure
And
you guys take a picture of the Art House address just in case you want to save it and take an Uber there instead if the walk is a little bit too much in the heat. I would strongly advise you do so right now if you can.
yes, totally. So yeah, the address is right there if you want to capture that. And I also know that we do have a nice, public transit system as well. If you'd rather, go about it that way to get a little closer to that Copley area of Boston. But yeah, rest assured, any of us will be happy to show you whereabouts it's located. And we're super excited to have you there.